1200 BC in Egypt. In 1915, Egyptologist Gaston Maspero published a translation of an ancient Egyptian ghost story, possibly set in Luxor, that was discovered on 4 pieces of pottery. In the story, a ghost of a mummified man tells a high priest of the god Amun about his current condition. I grew, and I did not see the rays of the sun. I did not breathe the air, but darkness was before me every day, and no one came to find me, the ghost says. The ghost seems to complain of some accident that has happened to himself or to his tomb, but I cannot make out what it is the subject of his dissatisfaction, Maspero wrote. The ancient Egyptians believed strongly in life after death and created a series of spells called the Book of the Dead, which they believed helped them reach the afterlife. Ghost of Tupo. Tupo was an ancient Chinese ghost with revenge on his mind. Before he died, Tupo served as a minister to Chinese Emperor Xuan, who lived from 827 to 783 BC. The two had a disagreement, and Xuan had Tupo killed in about 786 BC, despite warnings that Tupo would come back and haunt him. Tupo did a lot more than haunt the emperor, however. 3 years later, in 783 BC, Xuan was killed with an arrow fired by an apparition resembling Tupo in front of an assembly of feudal lords, according to Chinese philosopher Mo Zhu. The Chained Man in Ancient Athens. Roman Senator Pliny the Younger, who died in AD 113, told a ghost tale so haunting that it survives to this day. There was at Athens a large and roomy house, which had a bad name so that no one could live there. In the dead of the night, a noise resembling the clashing of iron was frequently heard, which if you listen more attentively sounded like the rattling of chains. Disturbances that led to the appearance of a specter, with the form of an old man of extremely emaciated and squalid appearance with a long beard and disheveled hair, rattling the chains on his feet and hands. Needless to say, the house was abandoned and had to be rented out for a cheap price. When a philosopher named Athenodorus heard the story, he reportedly rented the house and confronted the ghost. The ghost appeared and rattled around before vanishing. Athenodorus calmly marked the spot where the ghost vanished, and in the morning ordered that the spot be dug up. Accordingly, once this was done, the skeleton of a man in chains was found there. The body had been laying there for a considerable time and was putrefied and moldered away from the chains. After being given a proper burial, the ghost departed and the house was haunted no more. The Boarded Up Bathhouse. The writer Plutarch, who lived from 45 AD to 120 AD, tells a ghost story that has a much sadder ending than the one from Athens. In the city of Chaeronea, Greece, there was a boy named Damon who attracted the attentions of a Roman military commander who was said to have loved him. Damon refused the commander's advances, enraging him. Knowing that he would be killed if he did nothing, Damon got a group of friends together, ambushed the Roman commander, and killed him. The city council of Chaeronea condemned Damon and his friends to death. But after that proclamation, Damon, who had not yet been killed, had the council members themselves killed. Damon and his friends then took to the countryside, plundering it. Eventually, the townspeople allowed Damon to return, but unfortunately he was killed shortly afterwards in the local bathhouse. And because for a long while thereafter, certain phantoms appeared in the place, groans were heard there, as our fathers tell us, and the door of the vapor bath was walled up. The Tower of London. Britain's numerous castles are hot spots for ghost stories. The 900-year-old Tower of London is said to contain numerous ghosts, and the Queen's House is considered by Tower officials to be one of the most haunted locations. Among the ghosts in the Queen's House is that of Arabella Stuart, cousin of King James I. Arabella made the mistake of marrying against the king's wishes and was sent to the Tower as punishment. According to the ghost story, she's still there today, serving her time. Aokigahara Woods. Aokigahara Woods is located at the foot of Mount Fuji in Japan, and the corpses of dozens of suicide victims have been found over the past 2 decades. The forest has become a popular place for troubled Japanese citizens to end their lives. Today, there are signs up in the forest urging people not to end their lives and asking them to seek help. Given the number of suicides that have occurred in the forest, ghost stories abound, including several alleged encounters with the apparitions of those who had died there, which can be seen on YouTube. Exorcism of Roland Doe. In 1949, a boy from Cottage City, Maryland, who is referred to as Roland Doe, underwent an exorcism performed by a group of Roman Catholic priests. There are conflicting reports as to Roland's alleged powers. Some stories claim that he had supernatural strength, could speak in ancient languages, and could move or levitate the mattress that he was lying on. Since 1949, investigators have called into question many of these claims, providing evidence to suggest that Roland was a psychologically troubled boy who hated to attend school and that his abilities were far from supernatural. In any event, the exorcism did take place. The events inspired a 1971 novel called The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, which then in turn inspired the famous 1973 movie. Brown Lady of Raynham Hall. In 1936, a photographer taking pictures of the 300-year-old Raynham Hall in Norfolk, UK, captured an image of an apparition floating down the stairs. It's one of the most famous ghost photographs ever taken, although some experts believe it was caused by a double exposure. The manor has a long history of being haunted, and the BBC notes that the ghost may be that of Lady Dorothy Townsend, the wife of the second Viscount of the estate. She died in 1726, supposedly of smallpox, after having an affair which her husband Lord Townsend had learned about before her death. She is said to still wander the manor dressed in brown. The CCTV Ghost. Hampton Court Palace in Surrey, England has a photogenic ghost of its own. In 2003, a CCTV camera caught an image of a skeletal figure clad in centuries-old clothes closing a sturdy fire door that had flung open. The ghost, nicknamed Skeletor, attracted a great deal of media attention. It wasn't just security staff who thought they were seeing things, a visitor wrote in the Palace Visitor's Book. Skeletor is not the only ghastly inhabitant of Hampton Court Palace. Catherine Howard, one of Henry VIII's wives, was imprisoned there and was supposedly dragged to her room, screaming all the way. The area that she haunts is called the Screaming Gallery. Amityville. The Amityville haunting is perhaps the most famous ghost story in America. Roland DeFeo Jr. was convicted for the 1974 killing of his mother, father, and 4 of their children at their home in Amityville, New York. Reports indicate that the gun Ronald used didn't have a silencer and there was no sign of a struggle inside the house, facts that left investigators puzzled. In 1975, a new family moved into the Amityville home, having bought it at a discounted price. They lived there for less than a month, and during that time, voices were heard around the house. Their daughter developed an imaginary friendship with a red-eyed pig called Jody. The house attracted swarms of flies. There was banging on the walls, and the furniture was said to move on its own. Since then, no family has been able to live in peace.